Have you ever heard of a road that seems to vanish into thin air? A place where travelers mysteriously disappear and eerie whispers echo through the night? Welcome to the haunted road that disappears, a stretch of pavement that's been the source of countless chilling tales. But what's really happening here? Is it a supernatural force at play, or is there something far darker hidden in the shadows? Stay with me and let's uncover the spine-tingling secrets of this cursed road. The story of the haunted road that disappears begins with a chilling legend passed down through generations. It's a road that has been the center of countless rumors and unexplainable occurrences. Situated in a secluded area far from the bustling lights of the city, the road is often shrouded in mist, adding to its mysterious reputation. The first recorded incident dates back to the early 1900s. Travelers passing through would sometimes report strange feelings of uneasy, inexplicable dread that seemed to settle in their bones as they drove along. Some said they heard faint whispers in the wind, while others swore they saw shadows darting in their peripheral vision. It wasn't long before stories began circulating of vehicles that vanished into the fog, only to reappear hours later, empty, with no sign of their drivers. One particularly unsettling story comes from a group of friends who decided to take a road trip down this eerie stretch one autumn evening. They drove through without a care, laughing and joking when they suddenly found themselves in thick fog. The visibility was so poor that they had to slow to a crawl. It wasn't long before they noticed something strange. There were no street signs, no landmarks, no familiar markers at all. Just endless stretches of road and trees. They thought it was just a bad part of town. But when they attempted to turn back, they couldn't. The road had changed, twisting and turning in ways they didn't remember. Panic set in as their phones lost signal, and the eerie quiet of the night enveloped them. Hours passed, yet it felt as though they were stuck in a never-ending loop. Eventually, they emerged from the fog, but they couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed them out. One of them even claimed to have seen a figure standing on the side of the road in the fog pale, gaunt, and watching them with hollow eyes. These kinds of stories only added fuel to the fire of local legends. People whispered that the road was cursed, that the spirits of the lost travelers roamed it, searching for a way out. And as time went on, more reports surfaced, with motorists and pedestrians alike vanishing without a trace. Some say they were swallowed by the road itself, while others believe the road is a portal to another realm, a place where the laws of time and space no longer apply. As strange as it sounds, there are even locals who claim that the road disappears completely under certain conditions. It's said that on foggy nights or during heavy rainstorms, the road seems to simply fade away, leaving nothing but an endless void where there should be a path. If you're unfortunate enough to be on that road, over the years, the number of mysterious disappearances along the haunted road that disappears has only increased. Local authorities are often called to investigate these vanishings, but each time they come up empty-handed. No physical evidence, no clues left behind, just the eerie sense that something unnatural is at play. And that's what makes this road so perplexing. It isn't just a place of ghostly whispers or shadowy figures. It's a place where reality itself seems to bend, where people simply vanish into thin air. One of the most disturbing cases occurred in the 1980s, when a young couple, eager to explore the road's strange reputation, decided to test their nerves. They made it a tradition to drive down the road every Halloween, hoping to witness something extraordinary. That particular year, however, they encountered something far darker than they expected. On the night of their drive, they noticed a thick, unnatural fog settling in as they approached the road. Despite the fog being so dense they could barely see the road ahead, the couple continued on. They didn't believe in the supernatural, and thought they'd just simply drive through and prove that there was nothing more to the stories than local folklore. But as they traveled deeper into the fog, something felt wrong. The further they drove, the more the landscape began to change. The trees seemed taller, their branches twisting in unnatural shapes, and the road itself appeared to stretch on endlessly. The couple tried to make a U-turn to leave, but it was impossible. The road twisted into what seemed like a labyrinth. As they frantically searched for a way out, the car suddenly stalled, its engine sputtering to a halt. Panic gripped them as they realized they were stranded in a place they couldn't understand or escape. Their phone, which had been working fine just moments before, now showed no signal. They tried to keep calm, hoping the fog would clear, but when they stepped out of the car, they felt a sudden chill. And then, without warning, they heard footsteps approaching them through the thick fog. The couple rushed back into the car, locking the doors. They stared out into the fog, convinced that someone or something was out there. But what they saw next was even more terrifying. A figure, cloaked in the same swirling mist, standing just beyond the reach of their headlights. The figure was tall and thin, with hollow black eyes. It didn't move, didn't speak, but it was watching them. The air grew heavier, and the couple was certain they were being stalked by something otherworldly. It wasn't until hours later, when the fog lifted and the first rays of dawn broke through, that they were able to start the car again and drive out. But when they finally emerged from the fog, they couldn't explain the time gap. It felt like they had been stuck there for only an hour. But when they checked the clock, they realized that over 4 hours had passed since they had entered the fog. The worst part? The couple could never find the place they had stopped. The road had completely changed. They reported their experience to the authorities, but like others before them, couldn't offer any tangible evidence to explain what had happened. The mystery of their disappearance and their uncanny return remained unsolved, adding another layer to the ever-growing legend of the haunted road that disappears. As the years have passed, the disappearances continue. Some of the missing people are later found, often in strange circumstances, claiming to have experienced the same unnerving sense of timelessness and disorientation. Others, however, never return. It's as though they've been swallowed up by the road itself, trapped in a place where time moves differently, and the very fabric of reality seems to unravel. No one knows for sure what is behind these disappearances. Are they simply victims of a dangerous natural phenomenon, like an inescapable fog or a shift in magnetic fields? Or is there something darker at play on the haunted road? One thing is certain, the road holds more than just eerie stories. It holds the power to make people disappear, to bend the laws of time and space, and to haunt the minds of all who dare to venture down its path. While many attribute the eerie happenings on the haunted road that disappears to supernatural forces, some have tried to find scientific explanations for the strange phenomena. After all, it's human nature to seek answers in logic, especially when confronted with something so perplexing. The question that plagues researchers and skeptics alike is that could there be a rational explanation for the strange occurrences here, or is this road simply defying the laws of nature? One theory that has been proposed involves the phenomenon known as temperature inversion. Typically, fog and mist are formed when warm air rises, and cooler air settles closer to the ground. However, during temperature inversion, the process is reversed. Cold air settles lower in the atmosphere, trapping any moisture near the ground. This inversion can cause the dense fog that blankets the haunted road, making visibility nearly impossible. This fog, paired with the illusion of the road stretching endlessly, might lead to the disorienting experience that travelers have reported. Some argue that this weather-related phenomenon could explain why so many people report feeling like they re-trapped in time or unable to find their way back. A prolonged exposure to such disorienting conditions, combined with the anxiety of being lost in an unfamiliar area, could certainly induce a state of confusion or hallucination. In extreme cases, it could cause a temporary lapse in the ability to track time, which might explain why the young couple, for example, thought they had only been stuck for an hour, when in fact, 4 hours had passed. Additionally, certain areas of the world are known to have higher levels of magnetic anomalies that can disrupt electronic devices. Some scientists speculate that the haunted road could be situated on a fault line or a geologically unstable region where magnetic fields fluctuate. These anomalies can interfere with GPS devices, phones, and even car engines, offering a plausible explanation for the vehicles that stall, the cell phones that lose signal, and the difficulty travelers have in navigating the road. This magnetic disturbance might also cause a sense of disorientation, making travelers feel as if they are on a never-ending stretch of road. But what about the disappearances? Could these missing individuals simply be victims of a road with hazardous conditions that are magnified by disorienting fog and malfunctioning technology? According to some experts, the road might be in a remote location that is poorly monitored, and certain individuals could be at risk of accidents or injuries that go unnoticed. When vehicles are abandoned or stranded for hours, the people inside might wander off in search of help, only to become lost in the fog, which could lead to tragic outcomes. And yet, despite these possible explanations, no one can account for the eerie figures seen on the side of the road, or the reports of time anomalies. Another scientific theory that's been raised involves psychological factors, particularly a phenomenon known as pareidolia. This is the tendency of the human brain to perceive familiar patterns in random objects or shapes. Under certain conditions, like low visibility or stress, the brain may trick travelers into seeing figures or shadows where there are none figures, that they may later describe as ghostly or unnatural. In the thick fog of the haunted road, where visibility is poor and the atmosphere heavy, the mind could be primed to see figures, faces, or movements that aren't really there. This, combined with the intense fear and isolation of being lost, could account for many of the ghost sightings reported by those who claim to have seen a pale figure or mysterious shape in the mist. Despite these scientific theories, however, many still feel that something far more sinister is at work on this road. While some believe that the strange disappearances can be chalked up to natural phenomena or human error, others feel that the road holds a dark secret, one that no amount of science can explain. And as long as the road continues to be shrouded in mystery, it remains a place of intrigue and fear, a place where the supernatural and the scientific are forced to coexist in an uneasy, unresolved dance. So, is the haunted road just a natural phenomenon, or does it harbor something far more disturbing? As long as the road persists, as unsettling as the mysterious disappearances and eerie phenomena on the haunted road that disappears are, some researchers have turned their attention to the darker history of the area. Could the road's terrifying reputation be linked to events from the past? Many local historians believe that there's more to the road than just natural or supernatural occurrences. It may be built on a site with a history of violence and tragedy. One of the oldest and most chilling accounts traces the road back to the late 1800s, when the area was not yet developed. It was a time when travelers had to rely on dangerous, uncharted paths through dense forests and rocky hills. The road itself, or what would later become the haunted road, was originally used by settlers who sought to build their lives in this desolate region. But the land was not kind. It was wild and unforgiving, and it was said to be cursed long before anyone could name the road that runs through it. In 1889, a group of settlers, desperate for land, ventured into the area, hoping to claim the untouched land for themselves. The group consisted of families looking to establish homes and farms in a remote part of the country. But as the settlers began to clear the land and build, strange things started happening. Local folklore tells of unexplained fires that destroyed crops and shelters, livestock that went missing under mysterious circumstances, and an unnerving series of sudden illnesses that struck the settlers. Within months, the families began to vanish, first one, then two, then an entire family overnight. Those who were left behind whispered that the land itself had cursed them, that something dark and sinister was at work. One particularly haunting story from this period involves the disappearance of a local family, the Andersons. The family had just built a small farmhouse at the edge of what would later become the haunted road. Neighbors remember them as a kind, hard-working family, but one night, they vanished without a trace. Their house was found abandoned, with their belongings still inside. The front door was wide open, and the smell of burning wood filled the air, yet no fire had been set. When the local sheriff arrived at the scene, he found something strange. There were deep, fresh scratches on the walls, and the floor was covered in footprints that led nowhere. The sheriff's investigation turned up nothing. No bodies, no clues, just the unsettling feeling that whatever had taken the Andersons wasn't of this world. Years later, in the early 1900s, the road was officially mapped out and paved to make it easier for travelers to get through the region. But that didn't stop the strange occurrences. Some locals believed that the spirits of the Andersons and the many other settlers who had mysteriously disappeared still haunted the area, seeking revenge for their untimely deaths. They claimed that the road was built over the very land where the Andersons had vanished, and that it was their spirits that made the road disappear. But the history doesn't stop there. During Prohibition, the area around the road became a hotbed for illegal alcohol trafficking. Rumors spread of rival gangs clashing in the fog, with some saying that the road itself was used for secret, nighttime exchanges of liquor. One tale tells of a notorious bootlegger named Charlie Whisper White, who made a deal with a rival gang to meet on the road and settle a long-standing dispute. According to local accounts, the meeting quickly turned violent. Charlie and his men were ambushed, and their bodies were never found. Some say Charlie's ghost still lingers on the road, seeking revenge on anyone who crosses his path. Others believe that his spirit is one of the many that traps travelers, pulling them into the fog where they vanish. Perhaps the most chilling part of the road is history lies in the abandoned house on its outskirts, still standing after all these years. The house was once the home of a man named Jacob Blackwell, who became infamous for his dark dealings with the occult. A self-proclaimed warlock, Jacob reportedly conducted rituals on the road at night, trying to harness the power of the land and communicate with the spirits that supposedly resided there. Some believe that his rituals were the catalyst for the road's haunting presence. Locals claim that his ghost, along with the spirits of those he summoned, still lingers in the fog, waiting to drag the curious into their eternal torment. This dark history, woven with tales of violence, tragedy, and the supernatural, adds a layer of fear to the road that science alone can't explain. Whether it's the restless spirits of settlers, the violent bootleggers, or the occultist warlocks, the haunted road that disappears is much more than a stretch of pavement. It's a place soaked in blood, secrets, and untold stories that refuse to fade away. And as long as the road remains, so too will the haunting memories of those. As the years pass and the road's terrifying reputation continues to grow, one thing becomes clear. The haunted road that disappears is not just a relic of the past. It remains an active enigma that continues to captivate those brave enough to venture down its path. Though the area has been investigated countless times, no one, whether authorities, scientists, or paranormal investigators, has been able to provide a satisfactory explanation for the eerie phenomena that occur there. But despite the growing body of evidence and eyewitness accounts, some still refuse to acknowledge the road's darker nature, chalking it up to folklore, exaggeration, or coincidence. Yet the disappearances persist. Most recently, a group of amateur ghost hunters who had heard the tales of the haunted road decided to investigate for themselves. Equipped with the latest in paranormal equipment, they set out on a cold, foggy night in hopes of capturing definitive evidence of the supernatural. Their footage, however, tells a much more disturbing story. As the group